Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Here today you can see I have a tiger resemblance right here just because now I'm back in New York and I miss my cat, and so my dad actually bought this like 2 years ago for me. It looks just like my tiger. I'll put a picture right up here. This is my replacement when I don't have my tiger with me. Without further ado, I want to jump into today's content, which is talking about Internship 101. So for today, I kind of wanted to just go over introductions. What is internship? Why are they important? Some of the early student program that like big company has for college students or even high schoolers. And also I want to talk a little bit about recruiting tips and tricks that you can use during recruiting seasons. And I also want to preface that this video is inspired by a presentation that Boba Talk actually had a few weeks ago called the Internship 101, where Jeff, the founder of Boba Talk, which is also an ex-recruiter at Google, talk about recruiting season, internship stuff for like high schoolers. And if you're interested, I will also link their website down here. If you want to look for mentors or you just want to join the community in general, there's also resources out there that you can just join immediately. So without further ado, I'll jump right into today's content. So first, I want to talk about just introductions, what this presentation is about, and what does it entail. And also a little introduction about me. For me, I'm very passionate about helping students in general to get an internship. So as I talked about, this video would entail some of the recruiting season tips and tricks, exploring some of the early student program if you're college students, freshman or sophomore, even juniors. I will also talk about how different company recruiting season are like and how their recruiting methods are like as well. So what are internships? So I looked it up on the Urban Dictionary, and according to Urban Dictionary, it is defined as when usually a college undergrad goes and work for a company who can get away with paying him a very small salary or often nothing because he hasn't graduated yet. It can also be defined as temporary employment for a company where you can develop skills for a particular industry. And for most US internships, they're usually 90 days where in co-op programs, your internship are usually for a full term. I would say this Urban Dictionary definition is kind of extreme just because there are unpaid internship out there, but most of the internship, if you work for a decently big company, then they'll probably pay you, I guess the small amount that makes sense a little bit for some company, but usually those are the times where you can get opportunities to get networking with your fellow interns and sometimes even working professional who can potentially be your mentor down the road in your career journey. And so you might ask, why are they important? So there's actually 3 reasons why I think internships are important. The first is definitely gaining experience, to find like relevant work experience in a professional setting, to get hands-on experience just so that you know what you're signing up for. Second is because of the new grad roles. If you have an internship, your chances of returning to the same company is actually pretty high when comparing to someone who are freshly grad and trying to find new grad roles. And I guess the last reason is also kind of related to the second one, which is just returning offers, because internship during like your junior year or even senior year has a higher possibility of getting a return offer to securing your full-time job, so you don't have to get stressed. And I know a lot of my friends currently who are all seniors are stressing on getting a full-time internship or even a full-time job after graduation, and they're really stressed about it. So I always just recommend having a really good internship during your junior year. So when senior year comes by, if you find an offer in your fall semester, then you can basically just chill for the rest of the year because you already have something lined up and you don't have to be stressed about job hunting or job searching, because right now the job market is really tough out there. And then moving on, I want to talk about some of the early student programs. So you might ask, what is early student program? So early student program are usually specifically for first year or even second year, and the idea of it is for freshmen and sophomores who have a little bit of opportunities to gain experience before internship recruiting. And so these early student program are usually ways to expose students to the different projects, technologies, and companies. So some of the early student programs, so there's a STEP program from Google, there's also the Explorer program from Microsoft, there's also Meta University, which is very much catered to our software engineers, and there's also Amazon Future Engineers. I think this one, they also cater towards high schoolers for like junior or senior year of high schoolers. And there's also the Uber Star by Uber, the early insight. I think right now they changed the name to something else by Goldman Sachs. And so all of these are a very early student career that you can apply for if you're a freshman or sophomore in college. I'll also link all of their website down in the description down below. And then you might ask, what are the other options besides internships? So like as I said, internship, they usually are paid work for 90 days. Usually they're project focused, they're more common and very competitive to get in, and they're also sometimes could be salary stipend. And there's other options like apprenticeships, which usually you're working as a junior capacity. You're learning on their job instead of they're expecting you to know whatever you're doing in your job. And usually they convert you at the end of the program, whether it is for internship or full-time. And usually they're hourly based, so you have to enter hours as you're going through apprenticeships. Next up, there's also fellowships. Usually they're more focusing on researching and studies. For example, there's like research fellowships, and usually you're enhancing skills in one particular area, and usually those are just researching skills, you're working in a lab. And then last but not least, there's also the co-op program. Usually the school has the most connections of it, and usually you have to take off schools to do the co-op program because you're not able, like they won't allow you to do school and also the co-op program at the same time. But in all of these like internship, apprenticeship, and fellowships, there are also opportunities for you to connect with experts, working with peers, connecting with peers on LinkedIn, also like probably you might be able to meet some alumni on the way, and also getting networks and maybe sometimes even jobs. I've known people who like know people and they eventually gave them a job because of personal connections. And then next up, I want to talk about just recruiting seasons. So the keyword for recruiting seasons, obviously just apply, mass apply. I remember when I first had my recruiting season, I applied to over 500 internships and I got once, and that's really all I need. It's the one that I need. For example, Amazon's internships, the summer 2024 internships actually open in summer 2023, so sometimes you might have to apply a year ahead. To dividing it to like two different sections, there's like the fan company and there's also the startup company. Fan company usually tends to get a lot of volume, and they also tend to release first. And for the startup track, they usually tend to open to interns full year, so they're on a rolling basis. And so if you're a sophomore or if you're a freshman and really just want to get something, maybe joining a startup could be the way to go. And then I want to talk about some of the key points on internships in general. And so usually internships are not centralized and you have to track them by yourself. I can show you how I track mine. So usually I have their links, their position, and the responses. So I track them in a spreadsheet so I can know whether or not I get a response or not. If I didn't get a response, maybe I can find someone who worked at the company and reach out to them and be like, hey, I don't know if you're the right person to talk to, but I want to follow on my internship candidate schedule or candidate process, and ask them about do they know or can they direct me to the right person to ask about it. And then tech internships tend to release first and they also have a higher volume, but non-tech internships usually release after. And then some of the key takeaways that I want you to take away from this video is some of the key takeaways on the process is that students are processed in a linear process, and that's why they apply first. There usually is a head count, and then once the seats are filled, then the recruiting season for them is done. And so if you apply later and you're unfortunate that the seats are filled up, then they might respond to you with an email saying that there is a headcount and the headcount has been filled, so they no longer are finding candidates for the role. And now I want to get into some of the interview process. So for technical internships, usually going through the application and resume screening, and then if you're a software role, then they'll send you an online assessment. Usually there are hacker runs or even code signals, and sometimes they also call it the homework assignment, where you have to do it basically a take-home homework, I guess. And then after you did the OA, then there's an on-site interviews. Right now they don't do on-site interviews. Usually they have a Zoom call or a phone call with you, and then if you did good in your interviews, then they're probably gonna give you an offer. If not, they're rejection, and then at the end they also have team matchings. And then for the non-technical internships, usually they go through a similar process with the application and resume screening, and then the difference is that the technical internship would have the online assessment, but for non-technical you probably just have a phone screening to see if you fit into a company culture, and then you get on-site interviews with behavioral questions, and sometimes they'll ask for a portfolio if you're applying for a UX role or even marketing role, and then rejection and offer, and then also team matchings will be happening at the end. And last but not least, I want to get into the FAQ sections. And if I didn't answer your questions in this video, you can always drop a question in the comment section so I can help answers. So how do I know when internship releases? A lot of the times there's posting on LinkedIn from recruiters or even people who work in the company. And so when they post it, you can absolutely just click into the link. Sometimes you can go on TikTok or even Instagram where influencers will post about opening positions, things about the tech job market as well. And sometimes if you're still in school, there's clubs and groups that will post about internship opportunities, whether it is in the tech industry or not. Sometimes online organizations like Boba Talks will sometimes post about job opportunities. Discord channel will also be posting about job opportunities as well. And the last way is obviously through friends and connections. I know I talked about networking, and that's where networking comes in, where job opportunities can be communicated through word of mouth, through friends, and eventually if they're working in a company, they can also give a referral, which I honestly think a referral is what got me into Microsoft. And then next, I just want to talk about some general tips. I don't know if you've heard of the car method or the STAR method, but I've heard the car method is better than the STAR method. Personally speaking, I actually like the STAR method better, but it is more of a personal thing. If you like to use the car method or the STAR method, both are like really good ways to answer questions. And you might ask, like, what if I don't get an internship? So if you didn't get an internship, like, there's nothing to stress about. Internship is not like the end of the world or whatnot. And so some other things that you can do are definitely personal projects. You can work on your portfolio, you could work on clubs, leaderships, you can try upskilling or even part-timing, and you can also just do freelance on your free time if you really want to do something to gain experience. And last but not least, I just want to share some resources that I usually use, where some of the job posting websites are definitely, there's the new grad GitHub, and also there's the internship GitHub page. And also there's a job post for both software engineer internship and product manager internships. And I think they're creating a full-time for product management at the moment. And there's also a full-time for software engineer on the website as well. And some of the communities that I always recommend people to join is that obviously first is Boba Talks, where you can find mentors. And obviously I have to plug my own, which is PM Ready. We're still working on our Discord channel, but we're going to launch soon. So if you're interested, you should definitely follow me on LinkedIn to get the updates and whatnot. But other than that, I think that's everything that I want to talk about for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you want to stay tuned for more of my content, you can click the subscribe button and the bell button so you get a notification whenever I post. I'll be posting soon about vlogs, lifestyle, career stuff. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time I post. Bye!